Let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a bad experience working in a group or a team? Well, if you're like me, the answer is yes. But if you know a little bit about the research we're going to talk about in this video, you won't be as alarmed or discouraged by it. We're going to talk about the 4 phases of group development, sometimes called the 4 phases of decision emergence, based upon some research by Aubrey Fisher. So let's get into the details. Hello again, friends. Lyon here, and this channel is all about helping rising leaders like you to help you increase your personal leadership impact so you can bring out the best in the people around you. And part of great leadership is learning how to work well with teams and groups. That's a huge responsibility for leaders. So let's get into the 4 phases of group development or decision emergence. And once you see all 4, I guarantee you'll see yourself in it. You'll see your past group experiences in it, and it'll be a little bit reassuring. So the first phase that almost all groups get into when they start a new project or add new group members is called orientation. This is where people essentially warm up to each other and warm up to the task that they are facing. So you get together and you make a little bit of small talk. If you express an opinion about the task, it's usually pretty middle of the road. You're not taking a strong stance yet. It's really important that you develop this social foundation for the group. You get to know each other. These early moments develop a little bit of trust and bonding that will help you work well later. You don't want to skip right into the task. In fact, if you skip right to the task and get rid of all the small talk, it's going to cause a lot of problems. Eventually, however, once you're good and warmed up, you have to move on to the task, and usually that's where you enter the second phase, which is called conflict. And this is where people always say, oh man, my group is fighting and arguing. But the second phase is a necessary phase, and some degree of conflict is not necessarily a sign of trouble. It's not automatically mean that the group is off course. In fact, you have to have some conflict, because if you think about it, if you express an opinion and someone else expresses a different opinion, maybe you're going to have a disagreement. If you want to be the leader, someone else wants to be the leader, you're going to have some conflict. If you suggest a direction and they want a different direction, you're going to have conflict. That's totally normal. That's what it means to be a human being. And in fact, if you get through this in a mature way, in a patient way, and understand that this kind of conflict is normal, it can be a very productive process for the group, and you can get a lot of good ideas on the table, and you can move forward with some of the best ideas. So once you're out of this conflict phase, because you have to move forward, you've got to deliver things, you're probably on a deadline, you get into the third phase, which is called emergence. And this is where the group really, for the first time, starts to emerge or come together as a cohesive group. So to do this, people are backing off some of their stronger opinions. They're letting other people maybe take the lead, and maybe they'll take the lead next time. They're figuring out their role in the group and what part they have to play. The dust begins to settle a little bit, and people start to move forward. This is a very reassuring stage, because you're like, oh, finally we're making some progress. Oftentimes there's a deadline which will kick you into this third phase. And then finally, the fourth phase is called reinforcement. This is where the entire group is now working together as one. Everybody is pushing in the same direction toward the goal. Everything's being reinforced. So you're really firing on all pistons or all cylinders. Everybody's headed in the same direction with the same vision. So if you've ever been on a sports team, if you've ever been in the performing arts or anywhere where there's like a show time, like a game time, then you probably have seen yourself go through these 4 phases pretty clearly. A lot of times the coach will get you out of that conflict phase and settle any kind of conflict and disputes you have. You get together, but by game time, by show time, you have to be firing on all pistons. So here's where I say you have to get the conflict out earlier. A lot of times people don't like the conflict and they don't want to go through that second phase, so they stuff it, they push it down. What ends up happening is it comes out at the wrong time later, because those disagreements still exist. They didn't go away and you didn't work through them. So they come out when you should be reinforcing and moving forward. Sometimes they'll come out in the wrong moment at the wrong time. Now, a couple of other tips about this. Anytime you add a new group member, anytime you are starting a new project of any kind, you're very likely to go through this cycle again. These aren't steps that then you or stay reinforced forever. You go back through this cycle time and time again, anytime there's something new introduced to the group or the team. So question of the day, where do you see yourself in this process? Have you ever had a very memorable experience in a group or a team? that matches up with this, or perhaps you got stuck in that conflict stage, I would love to hear your comments in that section below. So thanks, God bless, and I will see you in the next video.